as regards this training. But now let's go into what we have for today. We are going to be first of all be talking about Revit architecture. Like you know, like I mentioned earlier, it is simply an architectural design software. I don't know if you can. Okay, let me share my screen so that my screen will be visible to everyone. I'm going to tap on share. All right. Let me allow it to share. Okay, I believe it is sharing now. Right? If you cannot see my screen, you can let me know in the chat session, either on the group or on my DM or on WhatsApp, anywhere. Right? So this is my screen. So first of all, we're going to be talking about Revit before we go into product structure. Revit basically is a building information modeling software. What is building information modeling? Building information modeling is simply any software where you can model a building on, right? Model a building on both the elements and information about the building, right? That is the layman definition of BIM, building information modeling, right? And then it is meant for architects, landscape architects, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, designers, and contractors. Every person that is into construction needs the knowledge of how to create drawings. I repeat this over and over again. I tell people, if you are into construction or you are planning to go into construction, it is not enough to know how to read drawings. You also need to have knowledge of how to create them. The reason is simple. Number one, not having knowledge of creating drawings would help you be able to maximize efficiency on site. Whatever you are, whether you're a project manager, a site engineer, architect, structural engineer, whatever you are, as long as you are into construction, or whether you're even into tilings, you're a tiler, you're a painter, you just have to have knowledge, ample knowledge of how to create drawings, because it can help you point out errors, right? It can help you maximize efficiency on site. When you have errors on your drawings, you don't have to fall back to the architect, or you don't have to, although you have to for them, but then you already have an idea of what it should be, right? What it should be, right? So it helps you maximize efficiency. It can also help you save costs. Recently, because I've been based in Lagos for some time, I just moved down to Ibadan. Those of you that are in Nigeria, you know Ibadan is just about 2 hours drive from Lagos, right? So I came for a project. Somebody contacted me for a restaurant project. So I came down here, and then in the course of the project, I came in contact with a friend that was also doing something around this vicinity. So I went to the site. I saw, so because he was complaining that he had spent a lot of money on the foundation, right? They were doing part foundation. So I asked him for the drawings. I saw the drawings. I noticed that from my experience, from me looking at the drawings and me looking at what is on site already, I just concluded that this building might have been over-designed. Probably it might have been done by somebody that is still coming up, amateur. So the foundation part was really, really large, right? For a normal, for a building of that caliber, right? So I concluded that this building might have been over-designed. So probably he didn't give it to someone that is experienced in designing. So now, if you look at it, you discover that if the contractor that is actually on that project has knowledge of how to create drawings or has some ample experience, he would have been able to recognize and say, "Oh, this building, we might have to redesign it again to confirm what is on the structural drawings, just for confirmation's sake." So you can see it helps you save cost. The cost that that person might have spent on that foundation, he might not have spent up to that particular amount. So it is just important for you to have knowledge of how to create drawings. Very important, honestly speaking. Right? So Revit fortunately cuts across many fields in the construction industry. It cuts across landscaping, architecture, engineering, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, right? So these features were added recently. Okay, in the course of this training, I'm going to let you know how these things came up. Now, the original software was actually developed by Charles River Software. Charles River Software is a company in the US, right? It was developed by them, and then it was renamed Revit Technology Corporation in 2020, and it was acquired by Autodesk. Most of you might know Autodesk. Autodesk is a big company that actually specializes in the creation of construction software. They are the ones that created AutoCAD. They are the ones that created Revit. No, they were not the ones that created Revit. They purchased it rather from the original creators. But they were the ones that created a lot of the construction software that we know today, right? AutoCAD, Civil, and a lot of Maya. I think they were the ones that created Maya as well. And 3ds Max. There's another software called 3ds Max. So they have a lot of software in their portfolio. So they purchased this Revit in 2022, and then started developing it. Right? Autodesk is known for actually developing software continually. That's why you have AutoCAD 2015, AutoCAD 2016, AutoCAD 2017. These versions are developed by Autodesk, and new features are being added every year. The same thing with Revit and all the softwares in their portfolio. So Revit is actually unique because it caters for both 2D and 3D 3D designs, right? So with Revit, you can be able to make 2D drafting as well as 3D rendering, right? With Revit, you can make 3D renderings, create photorealistic views of your building, and you can also create video walkthroughs. Many people don't know that Revit can do this. Actually, they only think you can model a structure in Revit and then print it out in title block and all that. But you can actually create a video feel of what your structure should look like, right? At the end of the day, you can actually create a kind of video that walks through maybe your bedroom, your kitchen, your restroom, your whatever, and create a video feel of as though somebody is going through the building. You can do that in Revit, right? So it's very robust. It is a very robust software, and also of course, you can also create the working drawings with Revit directly. Working drawings simply means the drawings you take to site for construction, where you have all your dimensions, your detailing, and all everything about your drafting is included. Now, the name Revit was actually coined out from the fact that you can make changes instantly as compared to manual drawings. You know, in manual drawings, if you make your drawings with your paper and pencil, for those of us that used to make manual drawings, you would agree with me that it is not easy to make changes to manual drawings, right? If you have any changes on site, you have to go back to your drawing board, right, to make those changes. But Revit, of course, you can make changes instantly, and you can share those changes with all the architects or the personnel that are in your design team instantly from the Revit software itself, right? From the Revit software itself. So, sorry, let me close this. So that is how the name Revit came up, revise instantly. So now, Autodesk also has, like I mentioned, they have line of products like AutoCAD and the rest of them. And then let me not go into much theory, right? So with the Revit platform, Autodesk has become a significant player in the building information modeling market, right? Together with ArchiCAD and other architectural design softwares. But personally speaking, my preference, I actually prefer Revit to every other architectural software because of its intuitive interface and then ease of use. Many of us might know ArchiCAD. ArchiCAD is a direct competitor of Revit, right? A direct competitor. With ArchiCAD, you can do almost the same thing you can do in Revit, but the difference is just in the intuitive interface of both of them, interfaces of both of them. I feel Revit is easier to learn for a beginner as compared to ArchiCAD. And of course, you have SketchUp also. SketchUp is another architectural design software. But SketchUp, the problem I have with SketchUp is it is not actually very much meant for irregular shapes, right? With SketchUp, you can do basic rectangular, square drawings, right? But you cannot easily do irregular shapes. So now let's quickly take a look at how the software works, right? How the Revit software works. It is very easy. I have just opened a a previous project that I was working on for a client. So it is very easy to use. And of course, Revit can work in any system, in any system. It can work in a 2 GB RAM system, it can work in a 4 GB RAM system. But the point is, the higher the system capacity, the faster and the more realistic your renderings will be, right? So, but then you can use a basic system to run Revit. So this is a simple drawing. A simple drawing. This drawing is for somebody, but then I've made some changes. So, of course, because of confidentiality purposes, right? So this is Revit interface. When you open Revit for the first time, of course, you are going to see an interface. When you have to click on architectural template before you come down to this interface you have here. So this is the interface of Revit, right? So on top of here, you have the tabs, right? The tabs, you call them the tabs: the architecture tab, the structure tab, the systems tab, the insert tab, the annotate tab, the analyze tab, massing and site, collaborate, and all of that. So, like I mentioned earlier, Revit actually encompasses a broad range of construction drawings, right? You can use Revit to actually make architectural drawings. You can use Revit to make structural drawings as well. But the thing is that the structural part of Revit has not been developed so much. So that is why we use product structure for structural drawings. But product structure is totally meant for structural drawings, right? But Revit has some functionality to actually make structural drawings, but not developed so fast, so much. So that is why you have Revit structure here. So in Revit, you can see you have beams, you have wall, column, floor, truss, connection, isolated footing, wall, slab, rebar. So these are all tools for making structural drawings, but they are not robust as compared to product structure. So you also have Revit system. This Revit system is all about the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing aspect of Revit, right? Called MEP. Revit, the short form is MEP. Of course, Revit MEP simply symbolizes the mechanical parts of the building, the electrical part of the building, and the plumbing part of the building. Mechanical part of the building is such as your HVAC or your AC layout. These are mechanical equipment. And what else? Your HVAC and other mechanical equipment that you can have in a structure, right? And then you have the electrical part, which encompasses your wiring layout, your circuit layout, your conduit, your what else? Your everything about electrical components, right? You can see them here. You have your ducts, placeholder, these are different types of the air terminal. This is a mechanical equipment, right? You also have mechanical equipment like your ACs, you can see it here. Then you have your piping and all that. Then you also have the plumbing part, which comprises your piping layout, your septic tank and sockaway layout. What else? Your WCs layout and all other plumbing equipment, right? So you can actually do all that with everything. But in this bootcamp, like I said, we are concentrating on the architecture part of Revit, and then we are concentrating on the structural part of structural drawings using the product structure software. So in Revit as well, you can insert components, you can annotate your drawings. Annotation simply means your dimensioning, your testing, and all that, right? Your tag, you can create elevations, spot elevations through this point. And then your analyze, this is actually where you can actually analyze your energy components of the structure. If you are doing MEP, you can actually analyze the energy consumption of your building, in terms of the lightning, the ACs, and all other equipment. Maybe you have kitchen equipment like your kitchen equipment, right, or your water heater and other. You can actually analyze what capacity of energy that is going to be consumed by the building. This will help you determine the capacity of energy generation, maybe for your generator or whatever. Right? So massing and site You can actually use this tab to create irregular shapes. You can create irregular walls, irregular doors, irregular roof, whatever. Revit, it is limitless. It all depends on your creativity, right? You can create virtually anything with this software. Do you know that Burj Khalifa, the one of the, I think it is still the tallest building on earth right now. It is around 169 floors, located in Dubai, right? Do you know that that building can be modeled in Revit? As that building, of course, you know how the shape is, how irregular it is, and how mind-blowing it is. So you can use Revit to create virtually anything you want to create. And then you can collaborate with members of your design team. Maybe you are not working alone, you are working with some other architects or some other persons in your team. Maybe you are working for a company. You can actually collaborate with other persons in Revit software itself. So you don't have to email your drawings, you don't have to WhatsApp your drawings. You can actually collaborate with your design team in Revit software, in the Revit software itself, and everybody will be seeing what everybody is doing and the changes that are being made. Right? So you can go to view here. This is where you can actually see the 3D version of your drawing. You can create sections, call out elevations, you can create schedules, and what have you. So a lot of things you can actually do with Revit. So if you look at this drawing that I made, it is simply 4 blocks of flats located in a particular land area. And now, of course, before you begin any architectural drawing, you know that you might need your survey plan, right? An example of a survey plan is what I have here. This is just a sample survey plan. For those of us that have an idea. So a survey plan is just a plan showing the boundary of the land, whether it is 2 plots of land, 1 plot of land, half plot, 3 plots, as the case may be. And it also shows you the road, access road, right? So you have the access road, proposed road here, you have the proposed road here. So this site plan is actually 30 meters by 50 meters approximately, right? So the survey plan will help you know the position of the building within the land boundary, right? Within the land boundary. Of course, there are standards to follow, right? Your building area should be at least or at most 30% of your land area, and your building back setback should be 6 meters away from the road and 3 meters away. So all these things, all these fundamentals, we are going to talk about in the course of this bootcamp. But this is just an example of how a survey plan looks like. So you need a survey plan before you begin an architectural drawing. So this was a sample of the survey plan that was given for this drawing, right? So the client wanted 4 buildings to be in it. This is it is meant for building and selling purpose. So you just build and then sell, right? So you can see the design right here. If you zoom out, you discover that each block of flat has its own privacy, right? You have the gates for this one, and you have the three is space for 3 car park, and then you have the entrance porch here. You have the lobby, you have the living room, and then you have the kitchen here, you have the dining, you have 1 bedroom here. And then outside here, you have the BQ, the boys' quarter, maybe for the maid or for the whoever, the BQ, right? Just a 1-room apartment you have here. So you can see the entrance to the BQ, and then the entrance to the main living room, right? It has 2 entrances. So the same thing was replicated on the 4 structures. And then you have a small swimming pool here, right? So you can see the dwarf fence for this particular apartment. So this person enters through this gate. Why this person enters through this gate and goes to his own apartment here, right? While this person enters through this gate and goes to his own apartment here, and this person enters through this gate and drives to his own apartment here, right? Drives to his own apartment here. So the 4 of them are separate. So that is how this you can see the basic setbacks were taken into consideration. I think the setbacks are 2 meters away from the fence on each side, right? So these setbacks are not really It depends on where your location, where you are, right? Like in Lagos, it is very compulsory, right? But in some other places, you might have 1 meter setback, 1.5 meter setback. Doesn't nobody really care about that, right? So now, if you want to see the 3D view of this structure, I can simply come over here and then click on 3D, and it is going to load it. So the advantage of Revit is that as you are drawing in the 2D plan, it is creating the elevation for you, and it is creating the section for you, and it is creating the 3D view all at the same time.
Ni waɗannan abubuwan ma da yake nunawa duka ba abin da ma ban sani ba. Duka? Bayanan da yake din ba.
So let me
ba ka son ka rubuta ka yi recording mana. Ba nan ba? Da yake yana recording ba yana. Na riga na. Okay, shi ke recording? Okay. Da wani ma na tambaya ne.
Let me make this okay, good. So it has been muted. So like as I was saying, you can see it creates so as you are creating the floor plan, it is automatically creating the elevations, it is automatically creating the sections, it is automatically creating the 3D view for you. So it is easier to make your drawings in Revit, right? To make your drawings in Revit compared to AutoCAD. Of course, you know AutoCAD can also make architectural drawings, but the problem with AutoCAD is that you have to make your drawings individually. You make the floor plan separately, you make the elevations, the 4 elevations, front, back, left, and right. You are going to make them separately. You are going to make the sections separately. So you are going to make the roof plan separately. The window and door schedule, you make it separately. So you have a lot of work to do. But in Revit, it is not like that, right? So this is the 3D version of the structure I just showed you just now. So you can see how it looks. So you should be able to create things that are just within your imagination, right? Within your imagination. So you are not restricted to anything. You are not restricted to anything. This is your balcony for the first floor, and then we have so you are not restricted to anything within Revit, all within your imagination. So in the course of this bootcamp, we are going to be doing 2 projects. We are going to first of all be doing we are going to first of all be designing a bungalow where I'm going to show you how to use all the tools in Revit. All the tools in Revit, your drawing tools, your modified tools, your annotation tools, your rendering tools, basically every tool you have in Revit. Then in the second project, we are now going to be designing a duplex, right? A duplex, maybe a 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom duplex, as the case may be. And then, of course, we do the landscaping, the compound, the background, and then we create video walkthroughs of the project. So it is a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn in the course of this training, a lot. So I want to encourage you, if you're into construction or planning to go into construction at any point, it is good to actually take advantage of this opportunity. Somebody that learns this thing, this thing is actually it is actually very much dependent on experience, right? So that's why it is good to have knowledge of it earlier, so that as you go, you have more experience in it. Even though I've been using these softwares for more than 8 years now, there are still things I learn every day. That's the truth. So learning never stops. So somebody that learns the software today and somebody that will learn it next month, they can never be on the same level at the end of this year, right? They can never be on the same level because the person that learns it earlier must have gained more experience than the person that learns, even if it's just 1 month apart. That's the truth. And this applies to every other aspect of life, right? So I want to encourage you, to take hold of the opportunity while you can. So if you have any questions as far as this Revit is concerned, you can always ask before we go into product structure. I want us to round up so that we can go do other things as well. So if you have any questions as in terms of using Revit for architectural drawings or any other question outside this, you can let me know. You can unmute your mic and ask, or you can ask it on the chat section, right? So allow maybe 2 minutes for any questions. I'll allow 2 minutes for any questions. So if there are no questions, we are going to proceed to product structure. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, my question is that can we use Revit for interior design?
For interior designs, yes, you can use Revit for interior designs, but then it is not going to be as good as you might like, right? Now, I forgot to mention, Revit has a library of components, hundreds, not if not thousands of components. Custom doors, custom windows, custom sofa, custom TVs, custom whatever, custom cars, anything you can think of, right? So Revit has a library full of components that you can simply import into your structure. And Revit can also allow you to make your custom designs. You can create custom doors, your own. Like if you don't like the one that is in the Revit library, you can create your own by yourself, right? So Revit has that feature as well. So, but then the rendering capacity, this interior design actually, the beauty of it is on the rendering, right? So Revit has that capacity, but it's not as much. It's not as much. So there are softwares particularly meant for rendering interior and exterior. Two examples of those softwares are V-Ray and Lumion. V-Ray and Lumion, these are high capacity softwares, right? And they don't work on basic computers. Like your Lumion cannot work on a system that is less than 8 GB RAM. It cannot work on a 4 GB RAM system. So they're high capacity. So those are the software that you actually use for proper interior designs. That's where you want to design your curtains, you want to design your ceiling fan, you want to design anything, wallpaper. So there are software that are meant for that. But Revit is just meant for modeling, right? So I would say, to answer your question, I'm going to say to make interior designs with Revit will just give you maybe 20 to 30% of what you are looking for. But it will not give you perfectly what you are looking for. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So any other questions so far before we proceed to product structure? Okay, so if there are no questions, I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open up